Hey guys, project-zodiac here. I'm back with another video, and in this video I'm reviewing the second Sonic the Hedgehog movie. So welcome to my review of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This review will have spoilers for it. I'm not going to have a section at the end that's just spoilers. I'll just be talking about the movie in general. So keep that in mind if you haven't seen the movie yet. It is a few years old. But if you don't really want spoilers, short version is it's so much it's just so fun. It's such a fun movie, and it is definitely way better than the first Sonic movie, which was already super fun to begin with. But this one is definitely made for the fans, as opposed to the first one, which was made for fans but wanting to do their own thing with it. This one is using what they've made for their own thing, but appealing it more to the fans. So yeah, this movie is just fantastic. So that's the short review of it. Now, a fuller, in-depth review we can start right now. So also, just before I get into the video, I just want to let you all know today is Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Sonic 3 comes out on Friday, and with that said, it comes out with Mufasa the Lion King. These are two movies I'm super excited to watch. It's kind of, in my opinion, like the Barbie Oppenheimer situation that happened last summer, or like last year. So for this one, I'm gonna go straight from Mufasa the Lion King to watching Sonic 3. So I'll be releasing my review on both Mufasa the Lion King and Sonic 3 on Saturday, December 21st. If you haven't watched my review for Sonic 1, please watch it. It's already out. I also recently made a review for a movie called Mary, which is about Jesus' mom. Since it is Christmas time, I wasn't really gonna do a Christmas movie, but I thought it was fitting for that anyway, and it was a pretty good movie, so I do recommend watching my review for that. There's one last update that I just want to give super quickly before I go straight into this review, because I might forget this, because I almost did in the last review, on Sonic 1's review. But for those of you that like my Xenoblade videos, I am already working on a new Xenoblade video. I should have it out in a couple of weeks. Even though the holiday season is coming up, I'm still working every day. Literally, I work 7 days a week. So yeah, please be patient with that. I'm so excited to get this Xenoblade video out. I should have released this video last year, but again, with school and work, it's a bit hard to be able to actually work on those more in-depth, complex editing projects. But with all that said, I'm sorry, it's been a few minutes already. Let's go straight into my review for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This movie is so fun. It mostly addressed the issues that I had with the first movie. Like, the CGI looks so much better. Like, Sonic just looks so much more detailed. It doesn't seem like it was rushed in a couple of parts. The way that the CGI interacts with the actual human characters is a lot more solid, a lot more realistic, like when a human character is holding a CGI character. So I really love how they handled the CGI for this movie. Another aspect too was how I had complaints with Robotnik in the first movie. Again, they're not really complaints. That was kind of like an origin story, but it's nice to actually already see Robotnik as Robotnik in this movie. He's not 100% Robotnik just yet. He's still Jim Carrey becoming Robotnik, but in this movie he's about 80% Robotnik compared to like 55-60% in the last movie. Yeah, so this one he's like 80-85 actually. He's getting the belly, he's got the mustache, he shaved his head, and he has like the red suit. So yeah, he's definitely more becoming Robotnik. which in Sonic 3, I am so excited that he's just gonna be full out Robotnik with that, with the big belly, um, better clothes. I'm just so excited for that. Obviously, I'm talking about in terms of his design with that. Um, well, sort of. In the first movie, his design would have been like 30% Robotnik. Um, but in terms of design, it's been growing a lot. And in terms of what I said with the first movie being 80% Robotnik, yes, the mannerism is going to be the same across all three movies, or in the later movies if they make more with Jim Carrey. But it's also due to how he interacts with Sonic. So it was more Jim Carrey being Robotnik interacting with Sonic in the first movie, whereas in this movie, because he now knows Sonic, it's Robotnik starting to act as Robotnik towards Sonic. So the way that Eggman, which for those of you that aren't really familiar with the video games, Robotnik is his actual name. I think it's Ivo Robotnik, his first name. His last name is Robotnik. We just call him Robotnik. But his nickname is Eggman that Sonic gave him. And we do hear that in the first movie too. But yeah, his interactions with Sonic in this movie is more how Eggman is in the games. So that's what I mean by 80-85%. And then since in the third game, he's definitely already had more history with Sonic, he's just going to be Eggman with Sonic. So I'm super excited for that. And that's something that this movie does really well, is really progressing how they handle Jim Carrey's Robotnik. And you can tell that Jim Carrey's just having so much fun in this role. He's being able to be himself. He's always been one of my favorite actors. And I think that his performance here is better than what it was in Sonic 1. Because he knows the character more, so he's able to be himself more with the character. So I love that. In terms of Sonic, that's another character development, and again, this I talked about in the first movie review as well, where across these movies we see Sonic becoming Sonic, and Eggman becoming Eggman. And in this movie, it really pushes that forward, especially towards the second half of the movie onwards. That's where Eggman is being Eggman, and that's where Sonic is really being that mature Sonic that is also laid back and cool, but still having the movie Sonic essence in it, which movie Sonic is way too hyper compared to the game Sonic. But it's kind of like Sonic 1 is kind of like pre-3D era Sonic games. He's like the young Sonic, the preteen Sonic basically, and then in this one we kind of have like the teen Sonic, where he's he's still goofing off, but he's more cool. He's a little bit less whiny compared to the first movie, and still being hyper as he is. In Sonic 3, from the trailers, it does look like he's gonna be kind of like the modern Sonic. I guess you can kind of say like young adult Sonic, even though I think Sonic still can't, like in the games canonically, he's I think still just 16 or 17. I don't know. I've always, ever since I was little, seen Sonic in like his 20s, like late 20s, mid 20s, something like that. Like he always was more mature in the movie, in the games, but still being really cool. But I know that in the canon he's supposed to be like 16 or something like that. But yeah, in this movie he definitely does seem a little bit more mature, a lot more focused, and having that essence that he has from the first movie of movie Sonic, which is nice. It's fine. I still prefer game Sonic, but he's still really cool here. He has more of that cool factor into it rather than the cool and punky factor into it rather than the whiny hyper factor that was in the first movie. The third movie does still seem to have that hyperness to it and the goofiness, but it still definitely seems a lot more mature. So I really like that this movie progresses his development a lot. and it's done really well. Now, in terms of the other characters, well, the first movie ended with a post-credit scene of us seeing Tails, and they actually changed that post-credit scene just a little bit. They gave Tails a better overall design, mostly with him just having a backpack now, but the CGI also looks better. But yeah, so they handled Tails really well. I think Tails' voice is the one that, and his character is the one that is just straight out of the games. So Sonic and Eggman have a lot of essence from the games, and so does Knuckles. But Tails is literally, out of all of these characters, the only one that's straight out of the games. So they did not change Tails at all. And I thought that that was really nice. He does a really good job being Sonic's sidekick. This movie is a little bit longer than the first one and longer than the third one, which I'm a bit upset about because I really wanted the third one to be longer than just 2 hours. I think this one's about 2 hours and 10 minutes or something like that. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, that movie, Sonic 3, I really wanted it to be a little bit longer just because we got Shadow in it, and I love Shadow. So, and it seems like it's a much more complicated story than what Sonic 1 and 2 has been. I'll talk about the story here in just a minute. But overall, though, I thought that this was, in terms of, the pacing, really well done. Most of the first half of the movie is just this wacky adventure with Sonic, Tails. We're introduced to Knuckles as well, and Eggman back. And I thought that that was pretty cool. I do like that this is set about a year after the first movie, which again, I know that I just said it's like the first movie is like pre-teen Sonic, and then this one's like teen Sonic, movie version of Teen Sonic. But it's really only been a year between the two movies in the timeline. So still the same Sonic, but again, they really developed him here, so it works. So I like that Eggman keeps his promise of I'll be home before Christmas or by Christmas, which he says at the end of the first movie. And yeah, he somehow found a way home by Christmas. And yeah, I just thought that that first half was just very fun, and then it got a lot more serious, and a lot more fan servicey, introducing the Chaos Crystals, introducing the Master Emerald, talking about the Echidna tribe, talking about Knuckles' backstory, talking about Tails and how Tails' story as well was developed. Talking about Sonic a little bit more in terms of some of his backstory and the things that he knows about from his planet because he left it when he was super little. Talking about Eggman's machines and how it's already designed in very specific ways and how he had changed the designs in that time frame that he came back to Earth. I think he would have changed the designs because all of the technology we see in the first movie is all white and military style, whereas in this one it's more like how it is in the games. For the most part, he still has the white military style technology here too, but I guess at some point he changed the design. And then we also have Super Sonic, which was so cool, and introducing that and that element. And so yeah, this movie is heavy because they put so much stuff in it, but part of the pacing with that is kind of like Sonic is on his own because his family's in a wedding in Hawaii, and so they're not really in the movie that much, but when they are, they work really well. I love the scene, for example, of Sonic home alone making a huge mess out of everything, and then they call him to see how he is, and then he's like, oh no, and then he just like cleans the entire house instead of just like going somewhere else or just cleaning a little part of that. He decides to clean the entire house, or at least that whole room, I think, but completely spotless as the phone is ringing, and then picks up. Like, I love that. That's definitely something Sonic would do. Um, and I just thought that was great. But then you have a lot of things. Oh yeah, and they've introduced things like gun, which is very important. Not like an actual gun. It's the military organization called Gun, which is very important for Sonic 3 because it's related to Shadow. Um, and so they have this whole, a lot of things like subtly put in, even from the first movie. Like there's lines of dialogue that was stated even in the first movie that kind of just builds up to overall what happens in Sonic 3 from what we know happens in Sonic 3. So I don't know how far they had planned that, or if they watched the first movie, picked up on a few lines that they wanted to evolve on after it started making a lot of money, and then kind of having an arc set after the first movie came out. Um, but if that's what they did, that's fine because they put so many references and so many information that is so much information that is just very important, and it kind of just goes over your head. You kind of don't really realize that unless you watch them back to back and then watch Sonic 3, and you'll see how like, oh, this is very interesting. Like they've been talking about these things since Sonic 1, and it's now being reflected a little bit in 2, but is a huge factor in 3, and that is really good story writing, and I love it so much. So yeah, they really care about telling this story right and making sure that they're also pleasing the fans. Um, so I love that, but there are some issues here with that as well, is because while they're dropping these lines of dialogue that is very important to the overall lore, unless you are actually paying attention, you're just gonna think it's wasted dialogue. In a scene, in this movie at least, in a scene that feels like it's filler, because this movie in particular, the reason why it's a little bit longer, it has a lot of like filler scenes in it. Like we don't need to see that whole wedding situation in Hawaii for a very long time, and like half of the movie just keeps going back and forth between Sonic and his adventures and then them getting ready for the wedding. Again, it's fine because at least we get to spend time with the, I keep forgetting their last name, Wachowski family. I forgot. So it allows us to be spending time with them since they're not following Sonic until the ending of the movie. But I still think they could have done something different with that. Again, a wedding is nice that they wanted to include that, but I don't think that they needed to keep jumping back and forth between Sonic and then them just preparing for a wedding the entire time, especially because of so much information that they put in this movie. So really, you're just there like, why are we in this scene again? And it's like, okay, now we're back to Sonic. Now we're back here again, but why are they saying this very important thing out of nowhere? So that's kind of what it feels like in some parts. That's not necessarily a bad thing because it's done pretty well and it's still so fun. And it's not just the wedding scene itself either. There's some scenes like that even for Sonic and Tails Adventure. Like we have a whole dance off in a bar in a different country, and even when I first watched it, yeah, it's really fun, but it goes on for like 2-3 minutes, and it's like, okay, they're just dancing for 2 to 3 minutes when we have all of these other important things to be discussing and talking about. So because the movie is pretty dense, there is a lot of things here. Honestly, I think that the dancing scene, as fun as it is, takes up almost as much as a lot of the wedding scenes that we see. Of course, there's more wedding scenes, but I mean, like, yeah, that bar dance off scene literally just goes on for like 2-3 minutes, whereas most of the wedding scenes go on for about a minute and a half, and then it just keeps going back to Sonic. There are a few scenes, obviously, that is a little bit longer than a minute and a half for the wedding scene, especially towards the end, but still. Yeah, I just really think that that dance off could have been done a little bit differently or a lot shorter. Um, but yeah, there's just, the pacing with the movie works. It's just there's a lot of filler in there, and I wish that they could have used that filler to be more beneficial to explaining a lot of things about the world and the concept, because it feels like they just drop random information during those scenes, and then from the second half of the movie on, that's where they're just dropping more and more and more information, because they're trying to make up for the time that they did not give information during the first half. So the first half feels like a fun and just a adventure traveling movie, and then the second half, when they're looking for the Chaos Emerald, and they're fighting for it, and then it leads into the whole final battle. That feels a lot more like rushed, because it's like all just action and exposition and information. And again, it's not exposition in a bad way, which thankfully is also something that is fixed from the first movie. There's very little forced exposition. Like in the first movie, I gave the example of Sonic in his own house just running, tripping over, and then dropping his rings and freaking out and making a big deal, so that we understand that that's a big deal, that if he loses his rings, it's a serious situation. They did not need to do an exposition like that, because that also only just led to him tossing the rings so he can give even more exposition. So thankfully, the exposition is done way more naturally here. There's a few moments where it is a little bit forced, but it is fixed for the most part. And in terms of the product placement, same thing. It's less here and a lot more natural. I can really think of just like one or two scenes where the product placement was a little bit forced, and I love that they brought back the Olive Garden. So that was really funny. Because everyone did complain about that particular product placement in the first movie, so I guess that Paramount was like, yeah, they complained, but it was funny. Let's just use this one time here in this movie just to remind them, we get it, it was a lot, but we're gonna make it funny and make it work, and they did. So yeah, I really like that as well. In terms of the lore, like with the first movie, they really wanted to make this appease the fans, and they do. This is so well done. There's so many Easter eggs, so many references, so many things. I was gonna say this in the first movie review, and then I remember that it was in this movie. For example, when Eggman is talking with Knuckles inside of a ship or a base, I forget, there's a little hologram of a Sonic. And Eggman is explaining his plans to Knuckles. I didn't really notice, or maybe I did, but I forgot. But I only noticed it when I really noticed it when I rewatched it now. That Sonic hologram is not actually of Sonic. It's of Sonic.exe, which is a creepypasta about the Sonic game, like one that's got that's haunted or something like that. So I thought it was hilarious that it's like Sonic from Sonic.exe as a little hologram. And you can tell that because of the way that his eyes are. I didn't notice that, or at least I don't remember noticing that in the first few times that I've seen the movie. And yeah, I just thought that this movie had even more references and Easter eggs, or at least some that are a lot more noticeable, and some that are a lot less known. Only if you really like playing the games, you really follow it, that you will really get the reference, such as Sonic.exe. Because if you aren't, it's just gonna go over your head. You're just gonna think that that's just a Sonic hologram, for example. But no, it's a reference to an actual thing in the fandom. So I love that. It's done so well. They do change some things about some Easter eggs and some backstories a little bit, but it works. And that's the thing that I've been saying since the first movie review. Whatever it is that they alter and change, it works. Like, yes, I would prefer some things in a slightly different way, but I can't be so mad at it because it just works. And that is also a very good example with Knuckles, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, so yeah, I think that, you know, in terms of references and for the fans, this was really well done. The information that's presented in it is really well done, and it really does make you feel like this is for the fans. Um, that whole like session starting from once they're looking for the Chaos Emerald, or sorry, the Master Emerald, is in the middle of the movie, and like Sonic and Knuckles are fighting over the Emerald. Um, like that whole like around that section, even slightly before it, that's where the movie really starts to become so amazing, because again the first half is fun but it feels more in line with what they as a studio wanted to do while still making it fun and pleasing the fans. And it's the first half is definitely more in line with the first movie, but then in the second half it's like, all right, we've already done a movie and a half now with the things that we wanted to do but still that fans would really love and enjoy. Now let's just go crazy and have fun with this. Let's just go full out fan mode and just have fun with this movie, so that the fans can feel like they were listened and heard, and that we thank them and we want to show them really how much we thank them. Let's just go crazy with all of the fan things in here. And we got so many like really cool moments straight from the game. Like we got, for example, Sonic uh, getting a piece of metal. I think it's from a helicopter in this movie. I forget. And then just sliding down a hill, kind of like it was in Sonic Adventure 2, where he is kidnapped by Gun and then jumps out of the plane, from with the wing. And then he's, you know, the city escape scene. I love that song so much, that level so much. Sonic X Shadow Generations came out not long ago. I really gotta beat it, or sorry, play it. I've been playing through the Assassin's Creed games this year. I'm almost done. I'm about halfway done through Valhalla right now, but I really want to play Sonic Generations, Sonic X Shadows Generations. That's gonna be so fun to just replay that level, because the city escape level from Sonic Adventure 2, and Sonic Adventure 2 is one of my all-time favorite Sonic games. I still remember actually playing that game for the first time. My stepdad, I think it was his roommate or a friend of his, had a Dreamcast, and no, it was a friend of his, I think. We went to the house, to their house, and they the roommate had a Dreamcast, or not roommate, sorry, the son of his friend had a Dreamcast, and his son was much older. He was like in his late teens or his 20s, something like that, I think. And he wasn't really playing it at that moment, so my stepdad said, hey, can we just borrow this and we'll return it next week or something. And then because I was just so loving the game, and he's like, sure. So I took it home, the Dreamcast, because, you know, I was really little, and I just remember booting up Sonic Adventure 2, hearing that menu theme, and just having Sonic jump out, and the City Escape theme song. Like, I always keep replaying that level. It's just so fun. Yeah, it just shows when a video game company really puts their heart into making a game. Not that video game companies don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. But when you see just how much detail and fun that they were having making that game, you can really see the heart in it. And Sonic Adventure 2 has that so much, especially with that first level. They were like, yeah, we're gonna make this super cool and super fun, and they did. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of Sonic Adventure 2 stuff in Sonic 3. But I know it's not just Sonic Adventure 2. But anyway, there's a reference to that in this movie, with Sonic and Tails snowboarding, from him, you know, jumping from a plane or a helicopter, I forget. So there's just so many references. So yeah, they really wanted to just say, this is a movie for Sonic fans. This is Everything that you had always wanted in a Sonic movie, here you go. You've put up with us for a movie and a half. You enjoyed what we did while giving you things that you love anyway, but now the rest of this movie is just for you. So just have fun watching it. And that's what this movie feels like. Um, so yeah, you kind of push through that first movie because you know how amazing the second half is. It's just so cool. And then we get the giant robot for Eggman. And then we actually get Super Sonic. And I was so shocked that we would have gotten Super Sonic here. I did think it was a little bit predictable once we got the Master Emerald, but then I kept thinking, then I just kept thinking, like, how are they gonna do the Master Emerald? The Chaos Emeralds, because they're only talking about the Master Emerald, and then we see that it's part of the Master Emerald. So when the Master Emerald breaks, we have all the Chaos Emeralds, and then they just come out. And as soon as we saw those Chaos Emeralds, when I was first watching the movie, I was like, yes, they're gonna do it. They're gonna make Super Sonic. I'm so excited. And then we just see Super Sonic, and he was just so cool. I was just so amazed, and I love that. I guess he's almost like a god in a sense, because he uses the power of the Chaos Emeralds to make chili dogs, literally out of thin air through lightning. And that was just so funny, and that is something that I think Sonic would do, even modern day Sonic, when he's just having fun. Because again, when the situation is very serious, he does become very serious. But when he's just having fun, the dude literally will do something like that. So I love it. I love it so much. It's done so well. And yeah, just everything with the movie is really, really well done. I even love, that the title for it is like the title for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. The original video game is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. With the two being yellow with tails. So I love that as well. And even some of the posters for this movie was similar to the box art of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So I thought that was really, really cool, because again, it just shows how much they really care about this movie and the fans. And that's how a company should handle their movie adaptations. I know that with Nintendo, they just made the Super Mario movie, and that was really fun too. I prefer the Sonic movies, but that's just because I prefer Sonic over Mario anyway, and I talk about that in the first movie. But the Zelda movie, that's what I'm super excited for. But it makes sense that that Nintendo would have done a Mario movie first. But yeah, I'm glad that their next movie is going to be Zelda. So I'm super excited for that, and it's going to be live action too. Yeah, actually, there was a fan movie called The Hero of Time released in 2009, which adapted Ocarina of Time for The Legend of Zelda. I love that movie. It's so good. Even the soundtrack for it is amazing. And that costume that they had for Link was amazing. There are obviously some cheesy parts in it, but still, sorry, now I'm getting sidetracked. But I'm glad that we're actually getting a official live action Zelda movie. But yeah, The Hero of Time, look it out. It's a fan movie. It's really good. But anyway, what I'm trying to say here now is that this is how a company needs to handle their adaptations. Yes, there's a studio involved. The studio's going to want to do certain things with it, but the studio needs to respect the fans as well and do things in a way that is going to make the fans very happy, and done in a way that's not forceful and that perfectly mixes with what they are doing in their own adaptation of it. So I love that that's what they're doing with these Sonic movies. All of these movies, and from what I can see, even Sonic 3 still has the essence of so many references and callbacks that stays true to everything. Yes, even in this movie, there are things that was adapted in a specific way, and I kept thinking, makes sense. I would have preferred if you did it the way that it was in the movie, but I can't be too mad about it. But that does lead me into my actual complaints, which we'll talk about in after I talk about Knuckles. But yeah, so I just love that they're actually listening to the fans and making this for the fans. So I do thank Sega and Paramount for that as well. Now, yeah, I'm trying to see what else I wanted to say other than Sonic and then my complaint. Or sorry, Knuckles and then my complaints. But yeah, this movie, it's fantastic in terms of how it handles a lot of the things. And it's just very, very creative and really well done. And this really is a movie for the fans, for sure. Like, I just love how dedicated they are to really making it for the fans. Now, I'm sure that there was something else I was gonna say. I just can't remember it right now, and the video is already a little bit longer, and there's still a lot of things I gotta say. So let's just go into Knuckles. Knuckles is very cool. His voice works really well. Idris Elba does a fantastic job as Knuckles. Oh, actually, now I remember the thing I was gonna say. It is about Knuckles, though. Ish. He's involved. We'll talk about it in a minute. So, Idris Elba does a fantastic job in voicing Knuckles, and I know that for many years people wanted Keanu Reeves to be Shadow, and that's a fan casting. So, again, it shows that Sega and Paramount are listening to the fans. I personally don't get the hype with Keanu Reeves being Shadow, but from the trailers, the voice works pretty well. It still fits that whole issue that I have with Sonic's voice, which is like, it's different. I would prefer if it was a voice closer to how it is in the game, but it works, so I can't be too mad about it. Same thing with Knuckles. Tails' voice is perfect, but Knuckles, same thing. It's not as it is in the games, or very close to it, but it works so well, so I can't be mad at it. And yes, I say that a lot with these Sonic movies. So yeah, Idris's voice works really, really well. Rough, gruff, and very, very focused. And I just really think that this movie does a really good job in setting up Knuckles and his whole backstory and everything about him. And this is the thing that I had been forgetting. So as I had mentioned, like, this movie really is very similar to how it was with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And many people thought that it would have been, Sonic 3's when we were going to get Knuckles. But for this movie, they mixed Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles into one movie. And it works really, really well. That's what I'm saying. Like, we had that first movie where it was mostly an original story, but now with Sonic 2 and 3, it seems like they're mixing a whole bunch of games together, because for Sonic 2 they mixed like 3 games, technically 2, because if you know the story behind Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you'll kind of see that the Knuckles portion is kind of DLC, but not DLC because it was originally part of the whole game and it was supposed to be Sonic 3 anyway. Yeah, what's it called? They're mixing a lot of these game elements together. And in Sonic 3, it looks like we're getting references to Shadow the Hedgehog, the game. Looks like we're getting references to Sonic Adventure 2, and a couple of other games as well, and a little bit more of the show as well too. So it looks like they're mixing a whole bunch of things with Sonic 2 and 3, and they did a little bit with Sonic 1, but again, that was more the studio focusing on its original stories while making a movie that fans would love, with callbacks to the series as a whole. Whereas this one's kind of taking plot elements and putting them into the callbacks and everything like that. So that is true with Knuckles. So this kind of puts in Sonic 3 and Knuckles along with Sonic 2, the games that I'm talking about right now, into one movie with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 as the movie. And that's really cool. Now, the issue with that isn't that it is an issue. It's just, again, I wish that they had had more time to say everything rather than mostly everything being in the second half. But yeah, that leads into now my complaints. So Knuckles, I think, was fantastic. I really loved this take on Knuckles. I do wish that they kept in the way that he says, "Do I look like I need your power?" to Sonic. The way that they had in the trailer, where he says that as he's holding Sonic, as Sonic is spinning. They changed that in the movie so that he says it earlier. I do wish that they kept it like that because that's super cool. But Knuckles in this movie, his design is perfect. The way he talks is really, really good. Again, would prefer the games, but it works so well. But I just really think them dumbing down Knuckles, and yes, Knuckles was never the smartest out of the group. He gets manipulated by Eggman so many times in so many games, but he's not an idiot. He's easy to be blindsided and manipulated, but he's not an idiot. He's very smart. And his whole concept isn't just fighting. And that is the one like actual big change that I don't really like at all across all of these movies, is really just that they make him be an idiot. He is very funny, but this is more like Sonic Boom Knuckles instead of actual Knuckles. And the Sonic Boom show was really good, but it's like that. So it's like Sonic Boom Knuckles mixed with actual Knuckles together. That's what movie Knuckles is. And you can kind of see that more apparent in the show for Knuckles, which is supposed to be set between Sonic 2 and 3. And the show was really cool, so I want to just quickly talk about the show. It was fun. A lot of it was just kind of filler stuff, but it was a fun time, and we did get to develop Knuckles a little bit more. But it would have been nice if we had Tails and Sonic there as well, especially since we needed to see them spending more time together before Sonic 3, which is this huge event. So I do wish, even though they had it be with the show Knuckles be about Knuckles, that's fine, but they focused, I think, on the wrong support character. The one that they went with is fine. I think all of like him plus Sonic and Tails could have been part of the support characters, but they're only on like 2 episodes, Sonic and Tails. So, but still, it's fun. It's a fun show for sure. Not as good as the movie, but still really fun. And Knuckles does seem a lot more aware of what happens in the planet and how to behave as he's learning it within Knuckles, the show. So it does develop his character a good amount, so that's good. But then that leads into my actual complaint with the movie, and that is, how is the Master Emerald on Earth? How is there so much things from other planets and Sonic's home planet on Earth? That's what makes no sense, because that's not explained at all. It's just kind of there. And that leads into, like that complaint, like, why did they have so much filler stuff and not explain very important things? Like, yeah, it just made no sense that the Master Emerald would be in a temple underwater on Earth. It's fine that it's underwater in a temple, but why is it on Earth? Yes, in the Sonic Adventure games, it's like that too, but it's kind of explained there. I need to rewatch Knuckles. I only saw the show. I only saw it when it came out, so maybe it's explained in Knuckles. I don't really remember. But that's something that needed to be explained in the movie, because even when I watched it, it's just like, oh, okay. They do talk about Knuckles' backstory and how he's the last of the Echidna tribe and how he became the last of the Echidna tribe, but they don't really go into details on how things regarding the Master Emerald is on Earth. and a couple of other things as well, not just the Master Emerald. I just can't remember those other things right now. Oh, like for example, how is the Chaos Emeralds inside of the Master Emerald? I don't remember that being a thing from the games. I think in the games they can enter the Master Emerald, but they don't make the Master Emerald, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. If I remember correctly, I do think it is something that is explained in Sonic Adventure 1 or 2. I think in 1, but I could be wrong on that. But yeah, in the movie they just kind of didn't really explain it very well, and I think that they needed to. Again, I'm hyper focusing on the Master Emerald, but there was a couple of other things too. Not just the Master Emerald and the Chaos Emeralds, just a couple of other things as well too. So I just think that some things are just there and you kind of just have to go with it, but they forget to let you know that all of these things comes from a different planet. Instead they act like it's always been part of Earth. So yeah, I just wish that they handled that a little bit better. But yeah guys, that's my review on Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's such a fun movie, and it's something that not just fans of Sonic can enjoy, it's things that everyone can enjoy. This movie is so fun, it's so funny. It's just a very nice, light-hearted, fun time. It's just so cool. You know, I am very excited for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and you know, the way that I keep talking about that movie, it seems like I'm expecting it to be this gritty, very serious movie. No, I know that it's going to be super cheesy and super fun and lightheartedness, but I do think it is going to be more serious than the past two movies, and it is going to have more complex scenarios than the last two movies. And you know, like even this movie, Sonic 2, it had complex moments and serious moments as well. Like Sonic nearly dies in this movie, and it was a very serious thing. So it was really interesting to see, you know, and now it's how it's going to be handled in Sonic 3. That's going to be very interesting for sure. I do also think that what this movie also does really well, as I said, is really developing Sonic, because in the first movie he was really alone, and now he has a family, and now he has siblings through Tails and Knuckles in that sense. And it's just really well done to see how much he had grown, and you know, wanting to have his family grow as well. I do think they shouldn't have ended with them playing baseball with Knuckles. Yes, that's a fun thing, but I think they could have shown us more things with Knuckles in the movie. But it still shows exactly what I'm talking about, that this movie shows Sonic finally having his family and his friends, and I'm so happy for that. Again, the show Knuckles, I know I'm including it here, I just really think that they needed to give us a little bit more of that family dynamic with them, because Sonic 3 is going to be a big event. You know, maybe not as much as I'm hyping it up to be, but it still is going to be a very big event with a lot of things happening, and it's shorter than this movie. So storytelling wise, it would have made sense if we got to spend more time with Team Sonic in the show Knuckles. But yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 is amazing. It's so much better than the first movie, and the first movie already was so good anyway to begin with. The reason why this one's so much better is because it really is like, let's just have fun with the movie for the fans. Let's just make this movie the way a Sonic story is, and just have fun with the Sonic story. And I love that. So yeah, it's just so cool. The performances and everything so much better. It fixes a lot of the complaints that I had from the last movie. Really, my complaints on this one is just, you know, dumb Knuckles, and unexplained plot elements, and just some of the pacing in terms of the balance of things, with non-important things and important things, but it just still ends up working out in the end. So I can't even really feel so mad at it, because really it doesn't feel like it's missing anything. I just feel like there was a little bit more to explain the things that is missing, which is just the biggest complaint really, which is the things from Sonic's world being present in the human on Earth. So that really is just my biggest complaint. Anything else though, this movie gives you everything as a fan that you would want. So it's just done really well. So yeah guys, that's it for my review of this movie. I didn't give the first one a ranking, but if I would say it was like a 7.5, and then this one I definitely say like it's a 8 out of 10. Actually no, the first one I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's between a 7 or a 7.5, and then this one I would give it like a 8. I want to say 8.5, but then as I remember, there's still that first half of the movie, so I'll give it like maybe an 8. It's just it doesn't seem like it's so much better when you look at it like that, but it's so much better. It's so much more fun, and it's an amazing movie. So I hope you guys watch my review for Sonic the Hedgehog 3 this weekend, and my review for Mufasa the Lion King. These are two movies I'm super excited for, and I'll be recording them when I get home, so from the movie theater. So I'll upload them this weekend. I'm very excited for this. My Sonic review for Sonic 3 is going to be a little bit long. For that one, I am going to have spoilers at the very end of it, so most of my review will be spoiler free, but then I'll talk about just the spoiler stuff after, and I'll make it very clear when the spoilers section will start with that. I'm sorry that this video was very long already. I just like talking about the movies that I, watch and that I like. So yeah, really I recommend watching this movie. It's fun. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. Trust me, it's a fun movie. Yes, there's a lot of cheesiness, but that's just part of the fun of this movie. And yeah, let me know what you think of this movie, what you're excited for in regards to Sonic 3. Let me know your thoughts. With all that said guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.